Alrighty, we are back. We're back, and Necron Artecho Paint base color test. We're continuing on. It's cheaper. It looks. We'll get into that on seeing what it looks like, and we're going to be adding some more green glow to this to try to make a determination on what type of color we should use. For some of you know, I'm Steve, the hobby tech guy, American expat here in Korea, and getting into Warhammer, kind of getting into Warhammer. So at least I will get some Necrons, I'll paint them up, they'll look good. Worst case scenario, I don't play, but I have some cool looking figures. Best case scenario, I get into Warhammer and I love playing it and I have some cool looking figures. We got George here. George pops up and says, hello, howdy. Good to have you aboard. So, yeah, we're doing that. And I've also been working on this little thing here, little 3D printed counter thing. And that you can kind of rotate and you can keep track of, like, I don't know, points or something within the game. You've got like life, wound points, stuff like that. So I've been messing around with that. So that should be popping up here pretty soon. I'll do another video on that once everything gets loaded up. Seems to be working out pretty good. So we have that. But the big thing here is the Necrons. So the Necrons, what we're going to end up doing, if we take a look at our little scene there, and we did some spray paint, as you can see. And we did the Krylon Fusion Metallic Dark, and then a metallic, which is a silver, and then Rust-Oleum Gold and Rust-Oleum Silver. And those things just, yeah, they just kind of, wow. They ended up, gold and silver, probably not good for Necrons, but the other ones, possibly. The Krylon Fusion has too much sparkly in it, so the other Krylon, the Dark Metallic, seems like that would work well. But then we got into the last video, we were talking about maybe doing the Artecho paint. So that's what we're going to do now. So let's just go ahead and we will move over to the paint station and we will take a look. So we're gonna set some things up here. We're gonna get our tablet going, and since we're streaming, and we'll get rid of that one. I think we're gone, and let's see if I can get this a little bit closer so I can actually read, so we can see what's going on. Okay. So a quick little recap. We had the colors, and the whole purpose of doing a spray can is to streamline the painting process so I don't spend a lot of time with, you know, doing this with a brush on an entire combat team or an army or whatever it is I end up getting. So yeah, that's going to be the thing there. We settled on kind of, if I was going to settle out of all of these spray cans, I would go for this one here. We can get this to focus. Oh, come on now. And then we did a dark wash on the left side, and on the right side we did a warm wash, or brown wash. And then, of course, we did the green on there for the glowing orbs and everything, and that turned out kind of cool looking. I think it turned out all right. But then, what we ended up doing is taking a look, and we used that new color. If we can focus. Come on, focus, baby. There we go. Come on. Work with me. Work with me. Seriously? Yesterday this was working great. There we go. So the Lead Belcher Wannabe from Artecho, it's a pearl black, and this came out really good. And so we did the same thing. We took a dark wash on the left side and then a brown wash on the other side. So we see that comes out pretty interesting. Why is that? There we go. So yeah, that turned out kind of good. You can see a little bit of brown tinge on there and then the dark tinge. But what I decided to do next was do the same thing, and that's with this Artecho paint. And then I dry brushed some Artecho bronze color on there. So we ended up with this here. And all right, come on, focus. There we go. So now we've got kind of that dark look, and I added some black to this, to some of the areas, because that's what you're going to do a little bit. So with a little bit of the bronze dry brushed onto the model, we've got kind of a different look there, and I think this might be it. So yeah, this could be the color. But if I want to streamline this entire process, the problem I'm going to be facing is that I don't want to brush paint all of these. So, but this mixes up pretty well, so I need to try to get enough of this and thin it out so it'll go in an airbrush. So, and that's the whole purpose of, otherwise I'm going to paint, I guess I could paint it with, a brush, but I don't want to spend that much time. I want to be able to do the primer in black, which we'll do, and then from there run in and do the airbrush with this stuff if I can get a good mix and figure out how to do that. And then with the dry brush with the bronze, that turned out really nice. And then we could also do like a gold dry brush on this as well. We could probably turn out with a decent looking color. Matter of fact, do we have gold? Yes, we have a gold. This is bright gold. So we could take this guy here and we could do some gold dry brush on here, because the brown, it's just a very slight tint. You could barely see it, but you can see it once you pick it up. You can see that, maybe 2 feet away, you wouldn't really notice there's a little bit of a difference, but if you were just casually looking, you wouldn't notice until you bring it up. So let's see what happens with the gold. Let's dry brush some gold on there. And I figure I would do all this because I'm getting ready for my appointment tomorrow. Tomorrow I will be in the hospital. And you might be wondering, oh no, is everything okay? Yeah, it's just that time of life where you have to get the colonoscopy, the camera up the wazoo. Yeah, that's going to be the fun one. So we're going to do the wazoo camera thing. And then that'll be tomorrow. Then we got to do that up in Seoul at Samsung Medical Center. So that'll be a fun little trip. I'll just get a little bit of this gold, and we will add a little bit of water on there. I'll see. Oh, George has got jokes. He says hole in one. Yeah, I'm hoping it's a very small camera. Because yeah, that's like an exit only thing. So yeah, so we got that tomorrow. That's going to be fun. I think we're going to have to drive up there because of the prep that you have to do and medications that you take. I gotta have to either take the train, and there's no more train tickets available. And so I would have to be on the train taking my medication to flush me out, and I don't want to do that on a train. So I think what we're going to have to end up doing is we're going to have to leave bright and early. We'll get up to Seoul, we'll get into the hospital, and then I'll just have to take my prep stuff during the day, starting from like 8:30 until 1 or 2, and then I have my appointment at 3:30. So yeah, We'll see. They're not going to put me under anesthesia, but they are going to give me something so that I'll kind of be asleep and won't remember, which will be good because I don't want to remember things like that. So with that said, let's see what the gold will look like. Just kind of ooh, that's kind of an interesting color. And we can get a little bit of gold on there. So kind of similar. So that brings out a kind of a subtle change in that. So that is a good, I like that. Oops. Just getting a little bit of gold on there. That's kind of a good color. I like that. And there's a little bit of sparkle in the gold, but it's not crazy like we saw with the Krylon. But this is turning out nice. You get all the raised areas. Yes, I think this is good. And so we get some shadows on there. And let's get this back in this thing so we can get a decent look at this. And there it is. So I think that's a nice color. I think that turned out good. I think we can get that lead belcher or the Artecho black pearl black. We could use that, and then we could use this gold to dry brush on there, and I think we could end up with a pretty nice looking, and then we could throw on some green. So we can see that there is a color difference. Come on, focus. Focus, seriously. There we go. So you can see we got a little bit of a difference in the colors with this. And I don't know. I think I'm liking the gold because it's a little bit darker. But with this one, we dry brushed it, and that turned out good too. So yeah, definitely some very interesting colors that we got, and I think they would work out pretty well either way. So And this was with the bronze, the Artecho bronze that we used. And then of course this one was with the gold that we just did. So that, and that. Which one would I use? Because they both look good. I don't know. That is... You know, I could almost get away with doing some with the bronze and some with the gold if I had like different units, because the colors are pretty close, but yet there's a little bit of difference. So I don't know. We'll have to take this to the game store tomorrow night. Hopefully I'll get back in time and I'll be able to show some guys and see what they think. But that's going to be dependent upon getting this thinned out so I could use it in an airbrush. Otherwise we're going to have to be stuck with this, which isn't bad. But if you can see the difference in these, let's see, can we get this going? So this was the Krylon Dark, and you see it's got some sparkles in it. So, and there's the brown wash on the other side, but yeah, I don't know, which one do you like? Do you like the Krylon one, the one on the left, or do you like the Artecho one on this one on the right? That is going to be an interesting thing for Necrons. So if you're a Warhammer player and you have done Necrons, or just seen some cool looking ones, let me know in the comments section. Which one do you think would be better? Because I'm still open. Still open. I wish this had like a little bit of a fuller amount of bristles. Seems kind of light. So, okay, so now that we've done that, I think what we're going to end up doing is we will go with, because we did a few different colors. We had the Goss Green, which is around the edge on these, so this is a little bit darker. I think we can throw this on. And then we'll come back and we'll do the center part of the glowing orb on this guy, kind of like what we ended up there, and kind of get a round, a little darker on the edges, and then we could end up getting something a little bit more dynamic. So let's go ahead and we'll try that. Except we'll do the gauze green first, and then we'll come back with our Tesseract Glow, and, or was it this color? The Shamrock Green. Could have been the Shamrock Green. I think it was Shamrock Green. Either way, we'll try it. We'll do the darker color on the outside, and then we'll do the other one. So let's get our green on. So we don't need that anymore. Now, that way we've got the tiny bit of darker green going around, and we'll try to get this so it's kind of looking like a circle-ish, so we can kind of get the darker around the edge, And then we'll go back in with the brighter yellow. We'll see how that goes. Maybe. Let's just try a different. We'll just do the whole thing on this side, and then we'll go back with the brighter color in the center there. We'll just try some different techniques. I saw some other people, what they ended up doing was taking like a darker green. You could do like an angel green and kind of go around the edges and then kind of, I don't know. Yeah, let's not. We'll just keep doing what we're doing. Just go around the edge. And we've got his, want to do a little bit of a color on his chest a little bit, kind of see how that would go. See if we can kind of get an orb looking type of thing going on that will get some glow. I'm really hoping I like the Warhammer. Hopefully it's a game that I would enjoy. I'll just kind of paint this up a little bit. But there's so many rules. Holy crow. That is a lot of rules. I'm telling you, a lot of rules. We'll go ahead and we'll let that dry. We'll get back to the Tesseract a little bit later, and we'll just set him there. And this guy, I think we can get some white. This Army Painter white is a little interesting because it's really, really thick. So I think what I might have to do is add a little bit of speed paint medium to this. And we'll add a few drops to this, hopefully to thin it out just a bit, because this is really, really thick. Holy crow, it is thick. Can't even hear the mixing ball in there. That's how thick it is. You can barely hear it. Barely. Yeah, that is thick. Six drops in there, and we'll see how that goes. It's too complicated and expensive for me to get into, says George. Yeah, it is. It is. It is expensive. Holy crow. Yeah, that's why I'm hesitant. For the combat patrol, it's probably gonna be $100-ish, $150, $130, $150, I think, for the combat patrol. And then some other items, if I do, that'll be like 500 points. And then that's a starting, is a combat patrol. But usually people play like 1,000 points or 2,000 points. So with that, you know, you're going to be dropping some big money on this. So I'll start with a combat patrol. I'll learn how to play with a combat patrol. And we'll see if I like it. And like I said, if I don't like it, I'll just have some pretty cool painted miniatures and I'll just keep adding them to the shelf. You know, I can make like a diorama. You know, I figured that's the worst case scenario. I'll have an expensive diorama with some Warhammer stuff. So, kind of looking at that. But if I do like it, you know, hey, it's a hobby. It keeps me out of trouble. We'll see if this thins out a little bit better. Gonna paint the counter to match your army. I was thinking about that. And if we'll see how that goes. Ooh, that did thin it up a little bit. Nice. That's a lot better. So we'll do the same thing on here. That's a good idea. But if I end up doing the counters, like if I make them and then if somebody wants me to print them out, I'd probably just pick out the filament, a colored filament to do that for me. And we'll just do this here. You need just a little bit of water. Thin that out just a hair more. So I'll have to let these dry and we'll see how they turn out. We'll have to, another video, I guess you could say. I mean, why not? Just do another video. Oh, some other news. Let's see what else. Green would look good for the numbers. Yeah. Or I could do like a green on the outside with black numbers. I could do that. And let's just do this little dot on his chest. And on his belt, we'll try to simulate a little bit of orbishness. And we'll just do the one on the back, since it's got kind of a larger area. Oh, another thing that happened, my resin printer died. Dun, dun, dun. Oh no. The resin printer died. Yeah, the Saturn III Ultra gave up the ghost. And because I had some spills on it in the past. And yeah, it didn't. Very kind of problematic. Very problematic. Let's do his eyes. It just. So I was going to be printing some stuff. I found those proxy units, and I was going to print those out so that way I could have a better idea of what that would look like for the Necrons. Get some Necron proxies, print them out on the Saturn III Ultra. It'd be good to go. It's like, oh, everything's great. And then it wouldn't print. It was like, what the heck's going on? And then I was like, it still wasn't working. And then there was other problems. And then I noticed there was some craziness going on. Well, finally it ends up that apparently through the number of leaks that I've had from the vat go into the machine, and yeah, it just didn't go well. And it kind of corrupted some stuff, and now it, you know, it freezes and everything. And by looking, I'm probably going to need a new motherboard and all that stuff. And it's like, new screen, new motherboard. Display was making some weird stuff, but I don't know if that's because it's the display screen is messed up or it's just the motherboard that's messed up. Long story short, I'm not going to dick with it. I'm just going to let it go. We'll get rid of that, and maybe I'll get another resin printer. So, which would be good. So we'll see how that goes. George says sell counters to offset the cost. Yeah, actually, I'm thinking about doing that. I made a couple of items for the store, and they're going to give me some discount on some items. So it was like, nobody mentioned how much of a discount. I was just like, hey, this is for the store, help decorate it, blah, blah, blah. They loved it. And because I did the dagger and then I did the cross, which was this cross, the trophy cross, I did that. This is my daughter's, so I'm going to give that to her. And then I'll do some other stuff. And so I'm hoping I can get a sizable discount on my combat team. And then that will, and maybe if I sell some other stuff to some people, maybe some other, tokens or kind of decorations like the cross that you just saw, then that could turn out pretty good. Okay, let's go back to this guy, because I think what we can end up, we were going to do the eyeballs. That's what we're going to do on this guy. And we'll just do, those eyeballs are so small, good Lord. And those are, I don't see how those people do it. He's kind of got a couple of eyeballs on there. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, the resin printer is dead. I'll have to drop that off, and thinking about getting a new one. So I'm thinking about either a Saturn 4 Ultra, the 16K version, which would be pretty good, or the Uniformation GK3. Either I think it's the B version, which is the ball screw version. I think it's got some really good, it has some really, really good results on that. So I think that might be something I would get. So it's going to be between the Elegoo Saturn 4 Ultra 16K or the Uniformation GK3B with the ball screw. Not the Pro version, because that's like $700 to $800. And it depends on whether Amazon will ship it or not. And we'll see what happens. I don't know. So, all right, let's get back to, do we want to do Citadel or do we want to do the gauze green? Let's do the Tesseract and we'll see how that goes on the feet. We'll see how this goes. And we'll just do just like a little bit of a, I don't know if that's going to work or not. We'll see. line that in a little bit. Get a little bit of that going on. Then let's try some gauze green on those other ones. Oh, I can do the... We got to do that guy too. So he turned out pretty good. Alrighty, let's see what the gauze green looks like. I think this is the little bit of a darker one, more fluorescent. And we'll see how that goes. Kind of go around that one. This one will just kind of just slather it and just go all out on that. And then I think we could do the tesseract on the little dots there. We'll see. And then maybe just kind of glaze this a little bit, maybe. Kind of get some glow. We do something like that. And let's go around the outside on this guy. Yeah, the wife wasn't happy about the resin printer dying. She's like, is that common for that to happen? She was like more concerned about it than me. I was like, it happens. You know, I mean, resin gets into things and that's, you know, you're not there to, you can't like watch a print for 8 hours and you try to clean up as much as you can, you know. So it's just, things happen. Life happens. So what do you do? So you can just get a little bit of Now, the other thing I could end up doing is kind of dry brushing this as well. to get some of this glow on there. So that is something that could be done as well. So we can kind of get so we'll see. Try that new Anycubic resin printer. Nice build volume. Not too bad on the price. Just sucks it happened when you were looking for another FDM printer. Yeah, that's true. At least it wasn't like in the old days. Resin was a real mess. Yeah. It's still a mess, but it's, yeah, they've gotten better. And the workflow is better. I've got a vent. Matter of fact, in preparation for using the Saturn III Ultra, I finally hooked up a venting tube and then made a thing on the 3D printer, and I've got had the fan and all that, and it was blowing all the bad resin smell outside, and I was on it. I was on it. It was good. But yeah, it ended up, it said, nope, thank you for all the help, but no. Let's see, I guess we do the Tesseract or the Shamrock. Let's, which one was the yellowish one? I don't know. I like that green. Yeah, turned out pretty good. That, I don't know. Now I could go, I just got this in, panel line fluorescent green. It's kind of a darker green. So I could try something with this, and then we could try this new Japanese panel liner green. It's fluorescent, so we can give that a shot as well. So let's see if this is dry enough. Blend that in just a little bit. So yeah, that turned out. Let's see if we can. Not bad, not bad. We'll do the back. Just kind of draw that in there. Kind of blend that in a little bit. Yeah, that turned out pretty nice. Look at that. bad. Need to work on some blending, but other than that, not bad. Let's try this panel line and we'll see. Because I wanted to check out this panel liner because it's kind of like an ink, and it's really just kind of goes into nooks and crannies like really well. And so because some of those Necron characters, figures, they have lines, and let's see, where is it? He even comes with like a ballpoint pen. It's like crazy. So let's see if we can find some panel lines. Ooh, it's got its own little thing. Okay. So let's see if we can just kind of... Oh, this is going to be money. Oh yeah, that is going to be hot. This is going to be awesome. Y'all got to see this. This'll... It's got like that capillary action that just kind of draws it in there. Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Holy crow, that's going to be awesome. Oh, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, this is fantastic. This is going to be money here. Holy crow. Oh wow, this just leveled this up big time. Wow, this is going to be good. This, holy crow. Stop shaking hands. Oh, this is going to be good. Yeah, this is money. Holy crow. And the fluorescent on it is hot. Wow. That is just amazing. Yeah, this is going to be good. Because it just sucks right into all those crevices. I'll just use this for the eyes. I went too much on there. But wow, I'm impressed with this. Just the how that just goes into those areas and the creases. That is just fantastic. And I might have to go back and do like a second coat, but it gives a little bit of detail to it that is like, wow. It is nice. Wonder if we can do the Aquila with this stuff and see what happens. Yep, sure can. Wow, you're gonna love this. Is that the same green that you were looking at for the Tyranids? No. This is the interesting panel liner, fluorescent green, and that stuff is incredible. I also have it in yellow, red, kind of like a pink. But let's take a look-see, and I'll show you what we got. See how there's a little bit of green in those crevices and little nicks, like on his legs. Just kind of goes in there. And then the Aquila in his head. Yeah, that turned out really, really good. That turns out nice. Cool. So green glow I need to work on, but that is cool. The panel liner works really well on that. Which is interesting because I also have a yellow fluorescent. I mean, look at that. Let's mix that up. Maybe we'll put a little bit of yellow on here to see if we can't brighten up some of the the green stuff on some of these. So, oh, that's just going to kind of go all into that. The capillary action of that is, so it's more of like a, it's not a paint, it's more like this is just going to go in those recesses. So maybe, so if you can see that on his leg, how it kind of fills in there. I can stop shaking. So interesting, interesting. I wonder if we can get that into the lettering on his sword. My thumb would stop shaking. Fills that in there. That is just really good. Cool. Cool, cool. We can just wipe that off there and get it. It's pretty good. I like that stuff. That was a good investment. Or I shouldn't say investment, but it's a Japanese panel liner, fluorescent panel liner stuff. So yeah, we got green, we got yellow, we got blue, red, black, white, gray. So yeah, we got some pretty cool stuff. Alrighty, so I think we ended up pretty good. We got some good stuff going on, and yeah, continued our experiment, which is good. And we forgot one last dot. So we can kind of get his little belt buckle there. Get a little bit of a tiny bit of color on there. A little bit better. So yeah, I think that's going to be neat looking. I think. So yeah, it's going to come down to, I don't know, the Krylon Fusion, the metallic dark metal. That looks really interesting. But it's got a little bit of a sparkle to it, which I didn't mind. But now when I see this Artecho, this pearl black that we used for these guys, and then how we ended up using a gold or a bronze and a gold to dry brush over this, I'm thinking this could be the way to go. So yeah, we'll have to get this sorted in regards to making an airbrush paint. So getting that thinned out and getting enough, get the ratio down so it's good enough to go through the airbrush. I'm not a big professional airbrush person, so that'll be something new. But I did see at the game store today that they had the Citadel spray paint, and it had kind of like a dark metal color here in Korea. $24 for one can, for one bottle of spray paint. So yeah, that's a bit much. Okay, there it is. I think we concluded with that. So we're gonna let this go. We'll get back to the studio desk. The studio desk. So we can close this out. So we'll go ahead and we'll pop back in here. Yes, the Necron spray paint. Of course, now we're not doing the spray paint thing anymore. We're looking at the Artecho paint system. And those I picked up on Amazon, which are way cheaper than Army Painter paints or Citadel paints, which is like, could be $6 or $7 an ounce, whereas the Artecho is like 60 or 70 cents an ounce. So, Need D Lowe's. Hey, I've got a few Necrons myself, and for the glow I found that the base of a white ink followed by a thinned down application of Vallejo fluorescent worked out really well. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I did see some things checking online where people would get the white ink, put it through the airbrush, kind of get that glow instead of kind of, blending it in with a brush. And yeah, that is definitely a good one. I'll have to look into that as well. The main issue that fluorescent paints is that they're transparent, so adding the white ink makes the color pop. That is absolutely true. So yeah, and that's kind of like what we did with those. We put down like a matte white, and it makes that color pop even more. Because if you took, same thing like with airbrushing, if you paint on a white base and then you put your yellows or greens that are kind of like speed paint-ish, or the Tesseract green and stuff like that, that really makes that color pop, versus having such a dark metallic color and then putting that high-vis fluorescent paint on there. It just doesn't, wow. It doesn't give you that wow factor, that pop. So yeah, absolutely right, Ned. So yeah, good stuff, good stuff. Okay, I think we're done here. If you could do me a favor, and please, I ask you if you could do this, if you could like and subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate that. It would help out the channel, help out me. Again, I'm Steve, the retired hobby tech guy. I'm retired here in Korea, so I'm doing all this stuff with, to keep me busy and out of trouble. Would appreciate that. Ned says, I hand brush the glow on my Necrons. I personally find that the airbrush glow effect usually looks too blown out for the scale of the miniatures. Yeah, I can see that. I've got a Harder and Steenbeck Ultra 2024, and it has the selections, and so you could put it on like the smallest burst or coverage area. And, you got like prime, and then a whole bunch of paint comes out. But if you go to the most smallest setting, I guess you could say, it doesn't really blow it out that as much as other airbrushes. Of course, if you're an airbrush god, then you can do whatever you want, but I'm no way near that. So yeah, that is something else that we'll have to look into as well. So the testing will have to continue. Because we could take those guys that we did, and we could do a little bit of airbrush. So we could do some airbrush on some white ink. I wonder if I have white ink. I know I've got the Army airbrush stuff, And I do have Vallejo fluorescent. Fluorescent yellow, we've got that. Of course, I got some other ones, green and orange and red. So we've got all those. I think I've got a fluorescent green too. That's in the other room. So we could take our guys that we had here, and we could kind of take this guy, and on the back we could just kind of play around, or I could just get another guy and paint him and start brand new. I guess we could do that because this is getting too muddled up. So I could pull something off the pile of shame and we could do something. So I've got, I could do something like this guy here. And then, so I could paint this guy with that black pearl from Artecho. And then we could do a little bit of dry brush with either the gold or the bronze. And then we could go through and we could do the white ink. And we could, for the glow, that's kind of blown over a little bit. We could see how that works with the harder and Steenbeck. And, yeah, I'll have to get a base for this guy. But like I said, my resin printer died. So, yeah, probably going to be looking at doing that. Yeah, it died. Saturn III Ultra is dead. So, if we could have a moment of silence. Okay, silence concluded. So yeah, I'm going to be on the market for another resin printer. That's going to be interesting. And we'll see how that goes. As far as printers, resin printers, I was looking at a few of them. So let me see if I can bring up my list. So there's a few different options. And I guess I could share this because it doesn't have any crazy information out there. Let's see how this goes. There we go. Something changed in my settings somewhere because I'm not getting the full-size desktop that I did before, that I used to have, which is odd. Anyway, Saturn IV Ultra 16K, there's that. That's about $500 right there. That is a pretty good machine. The other one to take a look at is the Anycubic Photon M7 Max. That's like $700. And then the Uniformation GK3, $800 or $630 depending on which model you get. Either the T for the cheaper model or the B for, which is ball screw, is the version there. So I'm kind of looking at these and we'll see what happens. But that's the cheapest and that has the tilting bat and everything. So that might be something to look at as well. And it can ship here to Korea. All these can. That's a big printer. Turbo Light, that is big, but that's also like $600, $700. That's $800. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. And I figure if I get, that's the thing. The M7 Max is pretty nice, but I don't know which one I want to get though. But GK3 is real good. If I had the money, if I could just blow a wad, I would get the Hay Gears Reflex. That is an awesome system, and it just makes doing automatic supports are so much easy. They're so easier on that system, it's crazy. So I would probably get that if I had funds to blow. I would get that one. I would go with Hay Gears, but I think the Anycubic is 30% off. Oh, I don't know. 298 by 164 by 300 build area. That's big. Oh, It's 200% speed increase compared to the previous M3 Max printer. Flip open design. So we just throw this on here so you can see what I'm looking at. Let's look at pictures. Pictures are good. So there it is. It's kind of a big build area. 11.73 by 6.46 by 11.81. That is a big mamma jamma. Improved lighting, anti-aliasing, temperature control in the vat, which is good. That's nice. Yeah. So that's tempting. That is very tempting right there. So maybe, I don't know. I'll have to look at some reviews and see how well this thing comes out. George asks if that's the one that has the double build plate. I don't know. We'll scroll through here and we'll see. Because I thought I remember, now that you bring it up, somewhere it had the build plate or the vat, but you could do two different materials or whatever. Upgrades, hanger. Okay, so it kind of tilts it so your resin pool or drips off of there. Oh, let's see what else they got here. Flip open cover, that's nice. I like that. I don't like auto resin feeding. It just gums up everything. Preprint auto inspection. Resin residue detector. I'm just going to pour resin in. Intelligent lifespan, whatever, blah, blah, blah. App. Ooh, app. As if anybody needs more apps. So, yeah, so there's that one. I don't think that one has the dual whatchamacallit. But the GK3 is a real good machine. For $629, that is a real good machine. But then down here, the Saturn IV Ultra 16K, that's $519. And when we take a look at that, 8.3 by 4.6 by 8, it's a decent size. That's a heated tank as well, so that's important with resin printing. Has a camera with a light, probably more apps, all that stuff. Wow. Let's see, what else do we got down here? Uh, 16K, which it's a little bit of a bigger pixel size, so you're going to lose a little bit compared to like a smaller build plate, like a 10-inch build plate. You're going to lose a little bit, but you're not going to notice. Smart tank heating, which is good. Camera detection. Tilt release. Ooh, yeah, that's right. So on the vat, it actually tilts down, so as you're doing a layer on the build plate and the layer is on the build plate, then the vat below it tears off. It doesn't tear off, but it tilts, and it makes it easier for doing the resin printing thing. I wish I could explain it, but it's not as aggressive as just bringing your build plate or bringing your bed up, and that suction from the layer and your FEP that's in your vat, it's not as violent because it's kind of going and it's tilting, so it's not as aggressive. So let's see, what does that look like? Yeah, it does that little tilt action there. So that's something. And something to be said. And then auto leveling. That's not really auto leveling, but because the leveling is how parallel you are to the screen. I think it helps because it looks like it springs. Yeah, a little spring action there. So it can help with leveling. It gives you a little bit of flexibility, I think is what I'm saying. Frontal lens, yada, yada, yada. Is that the one that can have the double build plate? I don't know. We'll take. I don't think it is. But that makes me wonder. Auto self-check and auto leveling. It doesn't auto level. There's no 3D resin printer that auto levels yet. They're being fast and loose with the advertising hype. Wi-Fi, overheating protection, power loss recovery, one-tap self-test, so that's nice. User-friendly design, handles, pour spout. None of the pour spouts on VATs are any good. I think Hopat has probably the best one, but even then, the sides need to be a little bit more. Replaceable lock screws. I don't like lock screws, but it is what it is. So yeah, that's a possibility. And then, I don't know, let's check out the GK3. We'll do the T model, which is a T screw, I think it is. And so that, ding, printing in low temperatures, so it's heated, rotating screen. Ah, they put the, finally, look, they put the power switch in the front. That's awesome right there. Quick release build plate, drip proof edge, which is nice, side mounted. Oh, that's nice, I like that. Quick release VAT system. Quick release resin vat. Oh, so it doesn't have the screws. Okay, that's nice too. So let's go through this and see how this one turns out. Okay, remote control, real-time monitoring with an app. This is resin printers, Barney Basic 3D printers like Centauri Carbon all have cameras. And this just brought me up because before I did this stream, I ended up checking out Prusa and the Core 1L, and it still doesn't have a good camera for that printer that you're paying almost $2,000 for the Core 1L. And it's like they're a day late to the party. I don't know. So you got the app. Print low temperatures, which is good. So heated vat, intelligent feed control. So, oh, yeah, that's right. This is the one where it has the bottles and it'll auto feed. I don't know. So you could put your own resin in there. So that's interesting. Maybe. If you're doing a really big print, but I don't think that would be a deal. Okay, 14 to 19 microns. Layer thickness 0.05 millimeters. Yes, incredibleness, user-friendly, flip-up cover. You can take those off. One-handed, quick-release build plate. Quick release on the connection for the vat. Ooh, I like that. Palmy 74. It's going to start painting minis. Do I need more than just a starter set to get going? No, you get... If it depends on if you're getting into Warhammer, you get some minis. They do have some paint sets that you can purchase that are like 12 colors or something. It's really Barney Basic, which is fine. It's a great place to start. And that's how I ended up printing up my very first mini. Is that guy right there was using those paints. And we got some really good stuff. Got some good detail on there. Got some edge highlighting. You know, some dark wash on this, grim it out a little bit. Yeah, it came with like 12 paints or something like that, and paintbrush, and boom. I think I got the one where it had like 4 models or something. Those little Space Marines with a paint set, boom. Or you can just pick up the paint separately, and then you can, you know, pick the models you want and pay out the nose for GW to give you some plastic. And I'm going to buy a Necron set. So, yeah, I'm going to be paying some bucks. Let's see what else. Factory calibration, ready to use. Oh, so that's nice. Hidden front switch. Quick release, leveling bubble, side-mounted drip tray. I like that a lot. A lot. That looks really good. Drip proof, little edge on there. That is nice. Paul 74 says, ha ha ha. Thank you for your information. Sure, no problem. Yeah, any questions you got? I'm no pro. I'm in this just like everybody else. We're just going to have some fun and learn how to do it. Large size. Ooh, it's got a fan with carbon activated carbon. I would probably hook that up to my ventilation system. And it can do, I don't know, this GK3 looks nice. I already have a wash and cure station, so I don't need that. I would just need that in and of itself. $629. It's either going to be that one. It's either going to be that one or it's going to be the Saturn IV Ultra. So 519 or 630. 520 and 630. How many bells and whistles does the Saturn IV Ultra have versus the GK3? Let me just run through this real quick. Okay, yeah, it's got the thumb screws, so I don't like those. The vat, notice how the vat has like that space in between. Cleaning that is going to be a pain in the ass. That's going to cause you frustration and angst. So, yeah, I'm not digging that. Time-lapse camera, the other one has that. Tilt, the nice thing about that is that's the tilt. It's not auto leveling, it's just some springs. It gives you a little bit. Okay. Then we compare that to this, the GK3, and what bells and whistles. Camera, app, whatever. Intelligent heating, smooth printing, low temperatures, that's good. Heated vat, okay, that's good. We went through that. Lens, yes, it prints a bunch of stuff. The build plate is one piece, so you're not going to have to clean that up. One-handed operation. It doesn't have screws, which I found out with the Saturn III Ultra. You have those thumb screws that go into the vat. So you see that screw there and there. What I found out with my Saturn III Ultra is that a little bit of resin can get in those holes, and it can seize up those holes. And again, you're screwing those in, you're screwing them out. You got to clean your vat and stuff like that. So constantly putting those screws in and out. It's kind of old school. So the GK3, it looks like that one's winning out, but it's got a heated. Saturn IV Ultra also has a heated, but it has that tilt. But that's not really a big, huge thing. It just would print a little bit faster. So is it worth, but that one is like $620. The GK3 is $630. But I like the GK3. It just doesn't have the tilt thing. But it has the auto resin feed, which it's neither here nor there. I don't know. It seems like the GK3 from Uniformation is in the lead right now. So unless, that's kind of within my price range. I think the high end is going to be like $700. So I don't think I'll get the Anycubic M7 Max. That's just too damn big. And I just don't think I would use it that much to justify that price. So. George says, or you can sacrifice your firstborn and go hog wild and buy off a GW recommended page. That's true. Get rid of a kidney. I could sell a kidney. It is insane on how much they charge for those figures. It is insane. I used to build models as a kid. You can't tell me that some of those, there's models out there for like $150, $200 for one model. It's just insane. And yeah, they know what they're doing. I think GW ought to have their model, their plastic model side of the house, and then they need to have a resin printed STLs. They sell STLs, official resin printing models, and they could have, because people would be all over that, you know. And it's like, oh, we don't want people to steal our stuff. Well, you just sell them at a very high price, and then you know, if people want to sell them, you have them buy a commercial license to do it. I mean, you're suing everybody anyway, so why not try to make some money off it? Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of an odd thing. They put Lego to shame. Yeah, right. So we'll see what happens. Or I could just get into one-page rules. But unfortunately, I'm going to get into Warhammer first. We'll try the Necrons. We'll see how that goes. I ended up getting the codex for this, for the Necrons. So at least it'll be some cool pictures and some lore. I'll do some reading. It has definitely got some reading, but the pictures are really cool. So, and it gives you some good ideas on how to paint these guys. And yeah, that's the combat patrol that I'm going to be getting. So that's what I'm going to be painting. But this is pretty cool. I like it. So get some entertainment out of it. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, let's see, what else do we got? We got colonoscopy tomorrow. We got the game shop tomorrow. And I got to check the game store to see if they have the Necron Combat Patrol. I'll get a discount on that maybe. We'll see what happens. So keep fingers crossed. Hopefully they got some stuff in. They said, well, what is it? Today's what, Wednesday? I think they said last week that they were going to get stuff in this week. So hopefully by Thursday, Friday, Saturday, something like that, they'll have a Necron combat team. We'll see how that goes. George says it's a missed opportunity on their part for not taking advantage of STL files. Yeah, they're trying to hold everything so tightly, and then they're suing content creators and so on and so forth, and people that are making proxy Warhammer stuff. I just don't think that's the right way to go. Imagine if George Lucas sued everybody that made fan fiction and wrote novels and did this or that or made models, and the whole, I mean, they could have done the same thing. But Star Wars was so huge because it welcomed in people like that. Whereas Games Workshop, yeah, not so much. They're suing everybody and their grandmother if you even use the word Warhammer. It's just putting a bad taste in people's mouth. So, and they're charging an arm and a leg. Of course, now they have shareholders, and they have, you know, responsibilities to the shareholders, and, you know, their duty is to make money, and yeah, I don't know. Just like Disney and Paramount did. Yeah, it's I think they could have went about it a different way and got much better results on that. So, and I'm not even in the Game Workshop. I'm brand new. I was into D&D when D&D Dungeons and Dragons first came out. Talk about dating myself. And the little figures that we had back then, metal figures, and Gary Gygax and the books, I think it was early 80s, I think, when I started. 82, 83, something like that. I think it was like 82. When I was first exposed to Dungeons and Dragons, D&D. And then Warhammer came out after that, but by that time I was in the military and I was doing adult things. So now I'm trying to catch up on all the fun things that I didn't do when I was doing adult things. And now that I'm retired, I can end up having some fun with it. So yeah. Alrighty, well, that's going to be it. If anybody's got any alibis, say them now. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. We'll continue on with our little experiment there. We'll do a couple more, and we'll see if we can't get that Artecho paint thinned out for airbrush use, so we can do, you know, kind of like a spray can type of thing. Or I just pay $24 for a Citadel dark metallic paint, and then $24 for a can. For those, I'm living in Korea, so for a Krylon spray paint, you're looking at what, 10, 11, maybe $12 is what I can get it. And the Citadel spray paint is 24. Ouch. Yeah, it's, ooh, that reminds me, I got to check that out on my own for shopping to see if I can find it cheaper. That's the price in the game store. So Citadel spray paint. Let's see if we can find Citadel spray paint. So oh, there we go. 82. Oh, 82,000 won. You have got to be kidding me. Holy. That's in Korean won. So I don't know. You tell me. 86,200 won. It's about 1440 won to the dollar. So you're looking at $60. Oh, maybe $24 ain't that bad. Holy crow. 126,000. Spray primer Death Guard green. That's almost $100. That is insane. Holy crap. And that's because it's overseas, it's got to get here, and it's Games Workshop. So, holy crow, that is insane. That is insane. Urban Fine Art, Tamiya spray paint, that's 11,000 won. That's better. I don't know, maybe we could do something like that. Acrylic spray paint base, varnish, 14,000 won. That's more like it. But yeah, see what I'm saying? Citadel. So obviously these people order it. They do a monster markup. And holy crow. So I can get some spray paints that are not too bad. Tamiya spray paint model, Gundam set. I'll have to open that one up and we'll check that out a little bit later. But yeah, that's Citadel. Holy crow. That was massively expensive. Holy crow. And the other one, almost $100. That was like $90 for that other one. 11,000 won. That's a small can. It's like 100 milliliters. So it's like a half spray can. And I've never seen those. And what's that other one? They got basic spray paint. Let me show you what I'm looking at here. So they got like basic spray paint colors. Metallic black, gunmetal. It would probably be the gunmetal. Interesting, gunmetal. Or the Tamiya. So how do you pick the color? Gundam model, or model painting. Usually it's got a drop down where you can, out of stock. Okay, that's why. Dang it, you got me all excited there, Tamiya. Spray paint. Let's try this. Maybe this one will pop up with... nope, that's just spray can. Spray. Dark metal. German gray matte. I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, it's it just makes shopping interesting here in Korea because stuff that I could easily get in the United States, there's a little bit of a learning curve, and language, that's a little bit of an obstacle at times. And even then, as we saw, some of the prices can be crazy expensive. That Citadel one for holy crow, that is insane. Anyway, so I think that's going to be it for today. So appreciate the likes and subscriptions, the subscribing, whatever. Hit subscribe, ring that bell, do all that cool stuff. If you want to get in contact with me, ask me questions about being retired here in Korea or hobbies, I'll share what I know. There's my email address. Usually 1 or 2 days I will always answer. So there's that. Some people bought me coffee. That's cool, but I would really appreciate it more if you did the subscription and the like. That would help me out. But coffee's good too. I do like coffee. I can't have any coffee now because. But tomorrow we will be having coffee and we'll get back and we'll see how this goes. So with that, thank you for checking everything out. We'll have to check out some paints and see if I can find something so that we can get our Necrons, get them all painted up, an assembly line process, and do it quick, fast, and in a hurry and make them look good so we can spend time on doing the glowing orbs. That'll be the thing that takes time. And I learned how to play Warhammer. So yeah, we'll figure that out. Maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't. I don't know. I like painting the figures, so that's half the battle right there. All right, with that, we will let you go. Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen, and we will see you on the next video. Peace. We are out of here. Spray paint.